This is one of the most complex and time-consuming projects I've done to date. I've built other cities with a similar style in the first City Skylines game, but this is the first time I've completed a man-made island city in City Skylines 2. The overall design of this city was inspired by the shape of a treble clef, a symbol you've probably seen before, especially if you took basic music lessons in school. The treble clef is a musical symbol often found on staff lines to indicate the pitch of notes in a melody. However, I was more interested in its visual form than its typical use. The shape is both unique and aesthetically pleasing, and I began imagining what a city based on it would look like, how it would be structured, and how it would function. Adequately, I named this city Melody Island. Melody Island is a man-made island home to 40,000 residents. It's defined by its iconic shape, surrounded by expansive beaches along most of its coastline. With its distinct landmarks and scenic beauty, it's supposed to be a popular summer destination. Melody Island is organized into several key areas. The outer central loop is the downtown core and the densest part of the city, featuring towering skyscrapers and office buildings. It's home to a long central park that contrasts with the surrounding high-rises, as well as a harbor and lighthouse on an adjacent land extension. The downtown flows into the inner central loop, where the density decreases into a mix of residential and commercial spaces. At the very center, there's a marina. The three sequential curves along the eastern side of the island feature luxurious beachfront properties. The northern loop contains a mid-sized residential complex, along with a commercial and tourist district highlighted by a striking Ferris wheel and other unique landmarks. The southern loop features a small quarry, where ore is mined for export. This video details how I designed and built this city. If you're more interested in just the building highlights without the commentary, there's a shorter time-lapse version available on my channel. It all started with a map. Melody Island was built on a custom map I created using the map editor. The map includes a single highway access point coming from the south, along with two ship connections, one to the north and another to the west. There are also two airplane routes, one connecting to the north and the other to the south. The map is entirely ocean, with nothing but open water as far as you can see. I achieved this by placing large water sources at the edges of the map and letting the simulation run until it was fully submerged. It took quite a while for the water currents to settle and stabilize, but once they did, I had the perfect blank canvas to start building an island from scratch. To design the city structure and shape, I prefer to use dirt roads because they're thin, easy to sketch with, and stand out clearly against the green terrain. Their visibility makes them perfect for planning. creating all these intersecting roads wouldn't have been possible without the Anarchy mod. Without it, the process would have been at least 10 times harder. Obviously, I also used the Unlimited Money mod and the mod that unlocks everything from start. Building the island's shape required some planning and preparation. I started by finding an image of a treble clef with a shape that suited my vision. I then overlaid it onto a grid, with each square representing a 200 by 200 meters area. I simplified the shape into its basic geometric elements, which are mostly circles. Next, I calculated the positions of the circle centers within the grid. For more complex curves, like the loops at the top, I determined the distances of key points, particularly the inflection points. With this blueprint and all the measurements in place, the next step was replicating it in City Skylines. Of course, this was easier said than done. Some of the lines didn't perfectly match my original design, but overall, I'm satisfied with the final result. Once I had the main shape of the city in place, the next logical step was to remove the guidelines and start shaping the shorelines. But before doing that, I upgraded the roads that outline the island. This made it easier to distinguish the main roads from the guidelines, ensuring I wouldn't accidentally bulldoze anything important. At this stage, I also built the highways and the tram network, since they're part of the core infrastructure. Additionally, I began laying out the beachfront properties using half-circle designs, guided by the references I had already set up. I decided to leave some of the guideline dirt roads within the main shape, as they could come in handy when designing the city's internal road layout later on. the shorelines were terraformed to match the desired design. In some areas, the difference in elevation is quite dramatic, where the road at the top drops off steeply to the ocean, which could be several meters below. A good example of this is the canal in the northern loop. In these situations, keys are essential for defining the edge, ensuring safety and improving walkability. However, in most areas, the slope from the avenue down to the sea is more gradual, creating room for decent-sized beaches. This is especially important for the beachfront housing sections, where the land needs to be wide enough on both sides to accommodate homes along with beaches behind them. The middle of the northern loop features a lagoon. Though it's a closed shape, it's technically not a lake since it's connected to the sea by a small canal that allows seawater to flow in. The same applies to the inner central loop. Despite these openings, the water didn't naturally flow into the entire area as intended, leaving parts of both the central and northern loops underfilled. To address this, I added artificial water sources with the Water Features mod to ensure those areas were properly flooded. At this stage, the main road structure was complete. The city is served by a single highway that runs from the bottom to the top of the island. Not only it is a critical infrastructural element for allowing people to travel in and out of the city, but it also plays a key aesthetic role by integrating into the overall shape of the Treble Clef. I think it turned out really cool. This highway features several on and off ramps, with the two central interchanges being the most important. These interchanges provide direct access to what would become the downtown area, the busiest part of the city. Both interchanges were uniquely designed to fit the landscape and connect to the adjacent avenues, offering multiple routes for entering and exiting the highway. Access points are also located in the southern loop and near the northern loop, where the highway seamlessly blends into the surrounding road layout. I aimed for a smooth and natural integration. Additionally, one segment of the highway extends to the very top of the city for more direct access. The highway connects to the outside region via a tunnel that starts in the bottom loop and runs beneath the ocean, emerging at the southern edge of a smaller secondary island, where it merges with the external highway connection. Besides the highway, two other major roads run almost perpendicular to the city's core shape. One avenue connects the inner central loop to the outer central loop, while the other links the inner central loop to the beachfront property area, intersecting all the streets along the way. These avenues act as arterial roads, allowing for efficient travel between high-activity zones. The roads outlining the city island serve as collectors, channeling traffic from the highway and arterials to various key locations and vice versa. The local roads will be defined later when detailing each zone individually. There's a primary tram line that runs parallel to the highway, stretching from the southern loop all the way up to the northern loop, providing direct and extensive coverage. In this section, a tram-only road runs alongside the highway, positioned between the two highway lanes at a lower elevation in a compact manner. The Anarchy mod was crucial in making this setup work, especially for creating the bridges and tight placements. At the northern loop, the tram-only road integrates with the main road network and follows the collector road from the top loop down to the middle loop, offering more localized service. It then connects back to itself at the bottom of the outer central loop, forming a circular tram network. The southern loop features a small quarry that occupies the entire circular section in the middle. The quarry was built below the island surface level to give the impression of digging downward, if that makes sense. There's a highway connection here that allows quarry trucks direct access to both the outside region for exports and the city itself. Local roads branch off from the highway, looping around the circular section, and eventually descending to provide access to the quarry or extend further to link with the tram depot. The challenge here was designing the quarry area to be small enough to fit the land's shape, considering the local dirt roads and the highway at the edge, yet large enough to accommodate a giant mining crane. This required a lot of trial and error, but eventually I achieved the look I wanted. Since this is a custom map, there were no natural resources initially, but I added them locally using the Extra Landscaping Tools mod. The tram depot was also placed in this area. Like many large assets, I didn't want it taking up valuable real estate within the core city layout, so placing it outside the main island made sense. It doesn't disrupt the iconic Treble Clef shape and even adds character, making the city look more interesting and unique. The southern loop serves as the gateway to Melody Island, being the first area visitors see when they arrive by road. After crossing a long dark tunnel, the first sight that greets them is a massive mining crane. A striking introduction, to say the least. Speaking of the tunnel, the small island on the other side serves as the contact point to the outside region. Its distance from the main island makes it ideal for facilities you don't want near residents, like the recycling center, which handles the city's garbage, and additional services that didn't fit on the main island, like an extra taxi depot. Because it's so remote, these facilities needed their own local fire station. A small section of the bottom loop was set aside for the city's water supply, consisting of a line of water towers along a winding pedestrian pathway. With added vegetation, this area becomes a nice park that not only looks good but also serves the essential purpose of providing water to the entire island. These water towers can easily meet the city's needs and can be upgraded if more capacity is ever required. For power, the island relies on offshore wind turbines placed in the ocean. They're positioned far enough to avoid disrupting the city's landscape, but remain close enough for easy boat access during maintenance or repairs. Initially, these turbines were set up on one side of the top loop, but I later relocated them to the opposite side for a better fit. The harbor was constructed on a piece of land that extends from the island. From here, I established ship routes connecting to the outside regions via the western and northern edges of the map. The harbor features two separate docks, allowing it to accommodate two ships simultaneously. This setup enables the boat travel system to operate two distinct lines, each connecting two different regions and each with its own dedicated port. Ships required a deep enough ocean to navigate, so I had to adjust the ocean level to ensure it was sufficiently deep, as it was initially too shallow. This adjustment also involved modifying the ocean level across the entire map to ensure a smooth transition from the shallow coastal areas, where the beaches are located, to the deeper ocean. In addition to the harbor, this area is home to the city's water treatment plant, which processes all of the city's sewage, as well as a taxi depot. The location was also ideal for a lighthouse, so I extended the land towards the shipping lanes. For the lighthouse, I used the early disaster warning building, which somewhat resembles a lighthouse. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a more fitting asset for this purpose. I definitely plan to revisit the city periodically to update and enhance certain areas as the game evolves and more assets become available. This is definitely one area I look forward to revisiting. Far from the city center, 3 long strips of sandy shores meet the ocean, where the only sound is the gentle rhythm of beach waves. This serene area is home to the wealthiest citizens who enjoy peace and tranquility. Each strip features a single road lined with low-density beach homes stretching along its length. Behind these homes, expansive white sand beaches provide a picturesque backdrop. This design is inspired by Dubai's Palm Jumeirah, where the palm trees' fronds are long, thin land extensions dedicated to luxury beach properties. I actually have a video on this channel where I replicated Palm Jumeirah in city skylines. It's one of my best videos to date, so if you like what I've done with Melody Island, be sure to check it out if you haven't already. All houses in this area are zoned for waterfront residential use and are complemented by distinctive signature buildings, such as the Golfer's Villa and the Sculpture Mansion. To add local leisure options, I included basketball courts, playgrounds, and other types of parks interspersed among the homes. The 3 strips are connected by a single 4-lane avenue that links them together and integrates the entire area with the main city. The intersections feature roundabouts and small local shops for convenience. In addition to the avenue, there are pedestrian pathways providing alternative routes between the strips. Public buses serve the area, offering transportation to the city. The beaches were created using the Surface Painter tool, with 2 different sand textures, a full sandy texture for the beach itself, and a secondary texture with partial sand spots transitioning to the residential areas. This transition zone is decorated with various types of vegetation. The shorelines are adorned with rocks and boulders, and specific areas are detailed with beach elements such as deck chairs, small shops, food stalls, and portable toilets. I aim for significant and realistic detail despite the limited assets available for beach decorations, especially parasols and beach towels. A pedestrian pathway runs along the back of the houses, separating the residential area from the beach. Occasionally, secondary paths branch off towards the sea, ending in piers. The central loop is divided into 2 layers by a canal. The outer central loop is an urban business hub featuring a balanced mix of office buildings, commercial spaces, and residential areas. It's the busiest part of the city, where business, tourism, and commerce thrive. This area is home to some of the city's tallest buildings, such as the Observation Tower, which stands prominently among the skyscrapers. In addition to the standard high-density zoned buildings, I incorporated the tallest signature buildings available to enhance the skyline, as well as shorter assets like the automated parking building and smaller ones like the activity plaza. The outer central loop also houses the city's only hospital, conveniently located next to the highway. The beach area features long pathways lined with palm trees, complemented by various feeding assets and parks, including outdoor gyms, basketball courts, and a water park. Besides the default assets, I created custom beach areas with commercial zones, including plazas, shopping squares, restaurants, and bars. An avenue cuts through the beach area leading to the harbor, which serves as the main access point for tourists and business people. The harbor includes a bus station and taxi stands, allowing easy transfers from ships to other transport options within the city. In the triangular section in the middle, I created a custom parking lot using a combination of mods, namely the extra detailing tools for the concrete surfaces and Find It to select and place invisible roads. The cape's foundation is reinforced with rocks and boulders to protect the land from the crashing waves. Meet the Grass Crown, a high-density residential signature building known for its unique and iconic shape. It houses nearly 4,000 residents. With Melody Island's total population around 40,000, this building alone accommodates almost 10% of the city's population. Given the high influx of people, accessibility is crucial. Residents of the Grass Crown benefit from a tram stop right at their doorstep, providing easy access to the rest of the city. The tram line is complemented by several bus routes with stops nearby. While parking for everyone is challenging, 5 underground parking lots help manage the demand. Additionally, a custom parking lot was created along the main boulevard using similar techniques as in the harbor. The Central Park offers a respite from the hustle and bustle of the city center. It features custom plazas and expansive grassy areas suitable for picnics or sports. Visitors can find park tables and benches under the shade of trees, as well as sports amenities like football goals. The tall buildings of the downtown area extend towards the inner central loop. Across the highway, the area transitions into a residential zone with medium-sized buildings and apartments, complemented by essential amenities such as a medical clinic, schools, and small parks and playgrounds. This area also houses the city's only high school. To complement the residential buildings, small commercial shops are situated along the coastline closest to the center. The road in this section ends at a long quay where residents and visitors can enjoy leisurely walks. In the center of the island, there is a marina, though it would be better described as a marina in need of boats and yachts. As I mentioned earlier, I plan to revisit this city when more asset options become available. This marina is definitely one area I want to enhance. The city's unconventional layout presented challenges in organizing and planning where each building should go. Buildings placed on the curved roads often don't align properly, creating frustrating empty spaces. To address this, I created pathway networks specifically adapted to the layout. These pathways weave between buildings and connect different streets, offering easy and direct access for pedestrians. Trees were planted along these pathways, transforming them into organic and natural parks that integrate beautifully with the surrounding buildings. In addition to the main avenue, the inner central loop is linked to the outer central loop by two additional pathways. One pathway extends north, connecting to the hospital area. The second pathway links the Grass Crown residential building to an urban school, providing convenient access to education for the thousands of residents living in this building. The northern loop features a significant service area, acting as a transition zone between the downtown district and the developments to the north. This area houses some of the city's core utility services, including a bus depot, a post office, a satellite uplink, road and park maintenance depots, and a crematorium. Further north, you'll find a zone dedicated to tourism and leisure. Unlike the bustling downtown with its tall buildings, this area is characterized by medium-density development and a much more relaxed atmosphere, ideal for strolling and enjoying the beach. Several attractions are available, including the city's bronze statue along the shoreline, a square center, and a giant Ferris wheel. Similar to the harbor, the Ferris wheel is situated on a dedicated land extension, offering panoramic views of the ocean and the city. Its foundation is supported by boulders and rocks. In front of the Ferris wheel, there's a marketplace. On the opposite side of the loop, you'll find a medium-density residential area that is complemented by a custom park and dedicated beach areas. This residential zone includes schools, local shops, and even a soccer field. Several signature buildings enhance this area, such as the Polaris Suites in the residential complex and the Auto Center in the tourism area. The entire coastal section features sandy beaches facing the blue ocean with a long quay along the inner shoreline. There's potential for adding restaurants on piers or other coastal amenities in the future, as this area is well suited for such developments. Given the name Melody Island, it's only fitting that this city incorporates musical elements. Instead of a marketplace facing the Ferris wheel, the area could be adapted to host a concert hall or a festival space. There's definitely potential for such additions. This was how I built Melody Island. In this video, I focused on the design elements and overall shape of the city, rather than its functionality. A lot of important aspects weren't addressed in this video, such as the city's economy, financial situation, traffic flow, education, and unemployment. I can cover these topics in a future video and dive deeper into the city's functionality, as well as explore improvements that could be made. There's still a lot of work to be done. Let me know if you'd be interested in that type of video. That aside, that's all for today. I appreciate everyone who watched it until the end. As you can imagine, these videos take an enormous amount of time. Hundreds of hours go into planning, building, recording, editing, and scripting. If you enjoy this content, please let me know in the comments, leave a like, or share it with someone who might find it interesting. Your support helps me create more videos like this. Special thanks to my channel members for going the extra mile in supporting the channel. That's all from me for now. Take care and, as always, have fun!